Hello and a really big warm welcome to this presentation from the Urban Penguin. My name is Andrew Mallett, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at C# on our Ubuntu 24.04 system and looking at how we can create our own class libraries and use them between our different solutions and projects, creating our own libraries that we can make use of. Now, come on, let's not waste any time and let's see if we can find our Ubuntu system and make sure that we can dig into our Rider IDE and see how we can make use of these class libraries. So here we are then in our glorious IDE for creating C# code that's available across platform. We're looking at C# because literally you can compile code that is going to work anywhere so long as you have the .NET runtime installed. So that could be Mac, that could be Linux, and Linux is obviously what we're running on at the moment, but it also then could be Windows. So it gives you true portability of the code that you are creating, much in the same way as Java, but without the heavy overhead that we've had previously with Java. I'm working in the IDE Rider from JetBrains. We're using this because this is available on Linux systems as well as Mac and Windows. So like our code is truly portable across platform. We've created ourselves a new console application with the glorious Hello World right in front of us. But we might like to make this just a little bit more exciting and include emojis. The emojis are just Unicode character sets, so it shouldn't be a problem. I can set up a constant, and I'm going to set up using the type of car. Now we can see on the screen that this then relates to a UTF-16 in the .NET framework. So a double byte character using 16 bits of data. We can set up maybe something called smiley for a smiley face. Obviously, that doesn't make it smiley. It's the value that we add in. Your car type is denoted by single quotes. Strings use double quotes. So we set up our single quotes. The /U just means it's a Unicode code that we are putting in. And then we want 263A for our smiley face. We can end our quotes and make sure that we put the end of statement, the semicolon, and we are pretty much good to go. But let's now make use of it. If I put $1 in front of the string of my write line, we are transferring or translating our string from a standard string to an interpolated string. With an interpolated string, we can then include variables within our output. So rather than just hello world, we can go through and remove the world and put in, so long as it's inside of brace brackets, we can put smiley. Let's tab complete, then I'll get the brace brackets, and I can remove what we previously typed in without the brace brackets. Let's just lose that. So we can then have hello and then our smiley face. Let's go through and execute this. As we execute it, we'll be able to compile and then run the code, and we can see we've got hello and our smiley face. So this is all looking good. But you can imagine if I want to include more and more emojis, then my code is going to get pretty untidy. I could include them all as variables inside of my main method, or at least constants within my main method. Alternatively, I could try putting them inside of my program class as static properties that I could access. Neither of these are particularly useful, though. The downside is that my class or my method are going to get pretty packed out with an awful lot of definitions that don't really need to be there. Additionally, I would need to go through and put it into everything that I was using. So let me go through and create a new solution based on the class library template. I'm going to call it my utils rather than just utils, because utils probably is a library that is used elsewhere and I don't want to clash with that. I'm going to have the solution and project in the same directory. These are going to be very small files, so we don't need anything too much. And let's just open up a new window so I can have two windows open. We can allow Rider just to create my project. And now as I go through and take a look, we can see I've got a new source file, my class1.cs, with my class definition. I can call this probably emojis. It's in the myutils namespace. However, I probably don't want to leave it the way that it is, just with public class. So let's go back and change this just slightly. I'm going to put in the static modifier here. Making the class static ensures that I can use members of the emojis class from the emojis class directly. I don't need to be worried about creating an instance of that class. So I don't need to create a new emoji to be able to access my emoji elements. I can access it directly through the emojis class. So I can then go through and put up my public constant car. Public here is just making sure that it's accessible outside of our class. We're going to call it Smiley. And then we can go through and set up the same values we had before. But don't forget to put in the escape character so we read the U correctly. Now, to say we have many emojis that we can use. Maybe not the complete emoji family, because some of them take 2 Unicodes, so won't fit in a car. If I want to keep them all as car, then I keep to the same size. But let's just add 1 in. My AI solution within Rider is suggesting that 263B is the sad face. So let's make use of that just for the ease. And then I can go through and build and compile my DLL file. I can't run it, which would also compile it. I can only build it because this is just a library file. So it's compiled correctly and has created the DLL file. And that would still be a DLL file on the Linux system that I'm using here. I'm now finished with this, so I can go through and close this solution, returning to my original solution. And then I can make sure that we can reference the DLL file so we know that it's available to us. So I can go through to the project, add a reference, add from, and then browse to the DLL file. I'm going to find the DLL files within the directory, navigating down to bin for binary, and then all the way down to the myutils.dll file. This is just making a static reference so that my project now knows about it. When it's compiled, it's going to be compiled with my library. To make use of it, I use the using statement, which then imports myutils, the namespace. I can get rid of the existing constant that I had, keeping my code now clean and tidy. And we can go through then and add in my emojis and dot. And we can choose maybe the sad one to see what that did work out to be. I can execute the code. And we can see, well, okay, I get a white background to the face, but at least we can see that's a separate emoji. Compare that to the original smiley emoji we had. With this, then it didn't have the background. As I execute that, we can see then that we're seeing now with the clear or transparent background. So we've been able to demonstrate the use of portability in our code, creating our library file that then can be included pretty much anywhere that we want. We don't have to restrict our code to being in the same solution or project. We can add it to a completely separate DLL file and reference that DLL file from any of our code. So we're up and running. We've seen how to use it, and I hope you've got something from this, and I look forward to seeing you back very soon.
All that is left to say is thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, then you are probably sadder than I first thought. For more of this drivel, please subscribe, like and comment to @TheUrbanPenguin.